toxic sight. Even angels will fall.
Just a second there. I think I should go along on this quest too.
It doesn't matter what you watch on TV nowadays. It could be Barney, it could be the Labyrinth, it could be the Smurfs. You're going to see some kind of pagan influence mingled in nearly every episode that you see on TV. And here you see the Smurfs. They already talk about magic, and in some of the seasons they had this magical crystal which could take them through time, and which goes back to the crystal power of the New Age movement, and people who channel and scry through staring at things, and basically all is tied to demonic influence. But that's not what we want to point out here. I want to point out, just like in the Labyrinth, or David Bowie is the Goblin King, here you see a reference to Lucifer in the Smurfs. Gargamel, the evil wizard, his cat's name is Azrael, which is another name for Satan. And I want you to see just how much homage is paid to the Dark Prince via Hollywood and television. Just real quickly, I'll show you a few examples here, from comic books to television shows to movies depicting Satan. And while not always in a positive light, it is more than likely in a manner that's not biblical. So I want you to see here just a few examples. And where do these ideas of Lucifer come from? And I mean that as Lucifer as God, and not an evil angel of death and darkness, but a vindicator and a liberator. Where do these come from? Well, one of those molders of our society, another top-ranked 33rd degree Freemason, and the 20th century's arguably best known Freemason, is Aleister Crowley. He has influenced such artists as the Beatles, Mick Jagger, David Bowie, the list goes on, Ozzy Osbourne, as well as comic book writers Alan Moore and Grant Morrison. Mr. Crowley, the 33rd degree Mason, OTO founding member and devout Satanist, wrote many theories and books on magical practice, and we'll let Grant Morrison, the famous comic book writer, discuss in a few interviews he did how he used these magical practices in his comic books, and how he tries to influence his readers into doing the same thing. Take a look.
Fight against tyranny and oppression and slavery and everything that's supposed to be bad in the world. So initially we set up this kind of conflict, the classic good and evil, or freedom versus slavery conflict, where the Invisibles were on the side of, you know, love, laughs and libido, basically, and the bad guys are on the side of George Bush and Margaret Thatcher and everyone who tries to run our lives and tell us what to do. And the Invisibles cell attempts to recruit this young kid from Liverpool who's a real violent punk. He doesn't even have a punk, he would call himself a punk.
I also see some importance in describing to you what you're listening to right here. It's an interview of Grant Morrison talking about his comic book series, The Invisibles. In this interview he says that the series is about good versus evil, oppression versus freedom. Basically he's saying that they're going for liberation against the establishment. He also throws George Bush and Margaret Thatcher in there. Judging from his sources whom he used, that being Aleister Crowley, to get influence for the series, Aleister Crowley was also anti-Christianity, so I would say that Grant Morrison would throw God in that category. God, of course, in his mind being on the side of evil, because he was a vindictive god, and Lucifer being a liberator. You'll see in the series he actually does what Crowley and other Satanists do. He mocks the crucifixion when you see a crucified frog in the comic book, and here he even describes it.
So beautifully to the dynamic of it. But ultimately what happens in the comic is that that plot line of that setup is subjected to such rigorous destruction that something else emerges by the end, which I don't want to say too much to people who haven't read it yet. But I think the philosophy is more important than the plot in the book. Punk rock, dude. This is a Donna Karan suit. Fuck it. So leading on from these ridiculous, where do you go from that? I found out that if you do these things that you're told by Alistair Crowley, by Wilson, by all these people we read and all these people we've been consuming, but we don't do it, if you actually do what they say, things happen. Things occur exactly as it's described, and we can all do it. So I decided to put this to use in the comic book that I was doing, this thing called The Invisibles. And the idea was to kind of get all this down on paper and somehow look at it, not to accept it as reality, to accept it as purely this is part of human experience. It's a part of human experience that has been described to us for thousands and thousands of years, but for the last 200 has been hidden and made occult for some reason that I don't understand, but seems to have to do with the Industrial Revolution and corporate culture.
I'm sorry, Grant Morrison, but you got one thing wrong. It isn't because of the Industrial Revolution and corporate whatever you said. It's because the Lord our God said that these things, these pagan practices of witchcraft, sorcery, necromancy, and Satanism are what you love, but the Lord God calls them an abomination before his eyes. And that's why they've been pushed to the side, because people used to know that these things were wrong. But now, thanks to the brainwashing and desensitization that people like you are putting them through, millions worldwide have bought into this lie of the devil.
Magic works. And when I started doing the comic, I found that you could actually make magic happen by writing things and changing the operating system of the universe. It works, and I'm here to tell you to try it when you go home tonight, because it fucking works. And what happens if we all do it? Everyone in this room decides to take control of reality. I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about quantum physics. I'm talking about taking control of things from the quantum level up, from the molecular level up, and it works. This magic works. So I'll tell you something you can do while I'm here. One of the best techniques and one of the easiest techniques to prove that this thing works is to practice sigil magic. First thing you do.
He practiced a basic form of magic called the sigil, and he actually taught his readers in the letters page how to perform sigils.
And it's a really good entry into magic because it's very simple. So I picked up on it because it seemed to be something that worked. To construct a simple sigil, write down your desire in the form of a sentence, then take out the repeated letters, take out the vowels, and you'll be left with a string of consonants. Then take those consonants and rearrange them and mash them together until you've got something which doesn't look like your original sentence, which is its own little glyph. The idea is that you activate the sigil, and that's where it gets to be fun.
Look at that sigil, meditate on it, and masturbate.
While you're staring at the sigil, and at the peak, pour all your concentration into it, and hopefully and generally you will find that the thing you wanted will slowly enter your life.
He says something and then somehow events align themselves.
So Grant Morrison derived this sigil technique from Aleister Crowley. As you see here in Aleister Crowley's signature, if you pay attention to the A, it is made to look like a penis, as it was to make you think of sex, and he was a homosexual or bisexual. If you look carefully at logos, you'll notice lots of them have sigils in them. For instance, here the Mobil gas station logo has the all blue letters except for the red circle, which is actually representative of Satan chasing his tail. We'll discuss this later when we discuss the Theosophical Society. And here you can see in the jockey logo a subliminal 666. And did you know the original Apple computer was originally priced at $666.66? This image is taken from Apple's website. If you think I'm lying, please look it up. Here you see the cold preparation 666 and the factory where it's made in Jacksonville, Florida. Look it up if you don't believe me, folks. Batman number 666 was also written by Grant Morrison. Gee, coincidence. And Doom version 1.666 was a big hit when I was a child. Look at some of the images from the game, as well as these other games that promote the devil. Now, viewer, you have no more excuses. You know that these practices of witchcraft and magic are done by 33rd degree Freemasons who are in the occult, passed on through the generations. Other ones like Walt Disney. Lots of you would love to deny that because you want to take your church there, but I hate to tell you, but Walt Disney is a 33rd degree Freemason. He even has Club 33 at Disney World, and his name is a sigil. Look at the 666 in it. It's not a coincidence, folks. Now that I have you aware and up to date, so to speak, on what a sigil is and how they are placed in movies, comic books, ads, and logos, I want to show you how they're also placed in children's cartoons, whether it be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Daffy Duck and Looney Tunes, or Dragon Ball Z. I'm going to show you more than that. Let's take a look at the unexpected findings of 666 in children's cartoons.
Who in blazes are you? Don't you watch TV? Don't you watch TV?
Or anything.
Yes, sir.
Take this gentleman to Suite 666.
Yes, sirree, sir.
Take this gentleman to Suite 666.
Take this gentleman to Suite 666.
And here we are, Suite 666. Let's see now, the key to the grand ballroom, the key to the Broom Mountain Slop Closet, the key to the solarium, the June Moon Swoon Room, the snack bar, and, here it is. Here it is.
What do you know? These numbers all bunch around 5, 6, and 7.
The number we're looking for has to be a 5.
What are you doing, Jax?
You know me. I need to organize.
Show you a picture. Each number stands for one pile of rocks. Now look at them stacked.
7 rocks.
But 3 piles have 6. 3 have 6 worth.
Cuckoo. Cuckoo.